Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have returned to League Unlocked. My name is Eric. Thanks for joining us again. No Mark today, so we are flying Han Solo on the Millennium Falcon for some LEC power rankings out of Europe, which have been very tricky, to say the least, over the last couple of weeks with the massive sandwich of good to great teams that we've seen in the basically 1 to 6 spot, all of the playoff positions over in Europe. There's plenty of mix-up again this week, and some teams sliding a little bit lower than you would have ever possibly anticipated. But let's go 10 to 1, starting first with the 10 to 6, the playoff hopefuls you will talk about. And obviously, the glaringly obvious one is G2 sliding even more, but we will get to them in a sec because there's a lot to dive into with that one. Let's start at 10, where you have SK. I don't think anyone would argue against them being in that number 10 spot, especially with how good and impressive XL and Astralis both looked in this week, getting wins against playoff teams and even legit contenders to win the entire split. Astralis and XL both looking great. Schalke, it feels unfair to bring them down 2 spots, and a lot of that is because Astralis and XL both had such fantastic weekends, because Schalke had the win against Fnatic. They've had a lot of positives going their way, even though they're 3-6. We've praised Nuclear Incap multiple times for filling in for Abadage. I think he's exceeded expectations already. Kire remains a question mark, as well as the bot lane, but at least the solo laners, Broken Blade and Nuclear In, have been clear win conditions and positives for them. Getting the big win against Fnatic, it was very close back and forth, and the raid boss Adam Olaf almost brought the game back for Fnatic. So kudos to Schalke for coming away with the win. They absolutely deserve it, and they're knocked down because of how good Astralis and XL did look this weekend, and because we had to slide down G2 3 spots. If you ever thought that this version of G2 at any point in 2021 would be as low as number 8 on the LEC power rankings, I would have thought your brain melted somehow from the heat and the humidity, because this is a team that's supposed to be vying for not just winning the LEC was just expected. This is the best chance that Europe is going to have at winning a world championship. And I know there's still plenty of time left in summer. There's still the entire Worlds to play out. There's still tons of time for that. But how they are playing right now it's not even looking good enough to get into playoffs in Europe, because the competition, the competitive integrity has been raised to such a high level in 2021. They do not look good at all. Caps it's shocking to say, but has been one of, if not the worst performing mid laner in the summer split, and this week was the worst of all the weeks, not just from Caps, but I mean the team as a whole. You add in this horrible macro decision and communication blunder against Misfits that cost them the game instantly. You have the level that they played against Excel, and I gave Excel credit. They look great, especially with 2 subs coming in, or young players making their LEC debut to win against Vitality and G2. Incredibly impressive. But G2 is playing the worst that they have played probably, I don't know, in the entire history of the organization, because all they've done is win and compete. Even in 2018, when things started a little bit slow, they never looked this bad. So it's absolutely bonkers to be talking about G2 this low in the rankings, this late in the year, because we are halfway through summer almost now, exactly halfway through summer. And to be having them this low, I don't think it's that out of this world or insane to put them here, because Excel and Astralis are putting up good performances. Marcoon and Advian coming in were, oh my god, godsends for this Excel squad. I hope they don't sub them out for the rest of the summer split. Wins against Vitality and G2 in your debut in the LEC is incredibly impressive. Astralis as well, they had a nice bounce back week. Wins against Schalke and Vitality. White Knight is a top half of the table top laner, which, it doesn't sound like much of a compliment, but I think for what people's expectations were for him individually, he's far exceeded those. So happy to see both Astralis and Excel bounce back in big ways, and they both deserve to climb this week because of it. So you have in tandem these lower tier teams performing so well, and that combined with G2, who, by the way, now have the longest losing streak in the entire LEC. Yes, that's right. SK Gaming, who has a single win, has had a win more recently than G2. It's 4 in a row that they've lost, back-to-back, 0 in 2 weeks. You're out of your mind to be keeping G2 in the top 5. If you're doing that, it's only based on precedent and how good they've been in the past. But newsflash, guys, they're not that good right now. They need to improve across the board, individually and as a team. The pick and ban, there's countless things that G2 need to fix. We look into the top 5 where we are accustomed to seeing G2, and you start with Vitality, who are, oh man, are they barely hanging on. I know we just praised Excel and Astralis for beating them, but you look at the rest of, especially the week before, because Vitality did look so good in those wins, we gave them a tiny ounce of leeway. They get dropped down a spot to number 5, but they are all of a sudden neck and neck with Astralis and Excel. It took them 1 week to completely close all the distance. We were memeing on Excel and Astralis for how bad they had looked, and then a week like this, and doing it against Vitality, boop, that gap is completely closed. So Vitality in that 5 spot. Mad Lions climb a couple up to that number 4. I almost wanted to bring them a little bit higher, but I felt like it would have been a disservice to what Fnatic and Misfits have done over the last couple of weeks. Even though Mad Lions did have that impressive win against Misfits, they played a competitive game against Rogue in that head-to-head. I would accept if you wanted Mad Lions a little bit higher than that 4 spot, but we're incredibly close now, especially at least that 2, 3, 4. That could be shifted in any direction depending on how the next week of action goes. But Mad Lions, you still have these moments where it's over-aggression or forcing a fight that they don't need to fight, or forcing an ill-advised fight where it's the power spike for the other team, or it's not the power spike for your squad. It's knowing when to take some of these fights that we're not seeing Mad Lions do, and that's why they're not higher than 4, because these are defending champs. These are the MSI top 4 finishers. We're expecting them to be always in the conversation of top 2 in the LEC, and they're pretty close to getting back to that mark. Fnatic, because they had looked so good over the last couple of weeks, and it was a very close game against Schalke. We didn't knock them too much. The other game they played, they beat up on SK Gaming, which, I mean, apparently everybody's doing, even G2. So you got to give... They did what they were supposed to do, and they looked competitive against Schalke. It's enough to keep them in that number 3 spot. Misfits can thank G2 for them staying in this number 2 spot, because it was very close to an 0-2 week. I don't know, if you lose to G2, maybe you're looking at these rankings a little bit differently, and all of a sudden you're saying, oh no, it's Misfits middle of the season again. The start of spring was just a little bit of hype, and then things come crashing down quickly over the last couple of weeks. Anytime there's a big throw or comeback, like a 10K gold deficit, some credit has to be given to the team that made the comeback, which absolutely Misfits hung on long enough to be able to commit that comeback. Yes, it was a huge mistake by G2, but you still got to give some of the credit to Misfits. So 7-2, they're sitting pretty at number 2. And Rogue, the head-to-head against Mad Lions, really helped them. That was their real test. They played SK on Friday, which... Again, we talked about Fnatic. Not going to praise you too hard for that, but Rogue overcoming that horrible start that they had against Mad Lions to take control of the game. And even though there were fights and those little windows where Mad Lions found ways back into the game to make it a back and forth, it was still Rogue in control for pretty much the entirety, after the first 10 minutes of that game. And they are the most controlled, the most collected, calm, cool, whatever adjective you want to use for Rogue. And you know what? They're being more aggressive, which is something that I love to see in 2021, been their main criticism since, they were actually a legit competitive team in the LEC. And Inspired is really making a jungle gap. For me, he's probably the front runner for MVP halfway through the split in the LEC. He's clearly been the best jungler and the best player on Rogue, the most important. Guy plays anything from the fiddlesticks to the volley bear to the more meta stuff in the Diana and Rumble. He has been fantastic across the board. Everybody harping on Rogue being the number 1 squad, but I think that head-to-head against Mad Lions, they are the team I am the most confident in right now in Europe when they hit the Rift. That is it for the LEC Power Rankings for Week 4. My name's Eric, as always. Thank you guys for hanging out with us, and we will catch you on that flippity flip.